Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Monsters Beyond the Dark. I'm your host, Nighthawk. We'll have Dennis come on here momentarily. I'm going to go over a few things just before we get started. The copyright disclaimer. This channel may use some copyrighted materials without specific authorization of the owner, but contends it's used here falls under the Fair Use Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channels and all of its Nighthawk podcasts declare fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, including music, to be used for the sole purposes of informing you, the viewing family, of information and for educational and general knowledge only, for criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, parody, scholarship, and research. Fair use is allowed to be used and permitted by the Copyright Act of 1976. It falls under the Fair Use Act of Section 17, subsection 107. Thank you very much. So that includes the music and all the content, pictures, me face, Dennis's face, everybody's face. Well, not everybody. I mean, not you guys, because obviously, you know, I can't see your face. So, let's just leave it at that. Okay. So, hey, sometimes that might be a good thing. You might not even see my face tonight. I don't know. I might not even show it. So, anyways, let's get this pony started in the race, shall we? Let's see. Let me get that off of there and put something a little bit more presentable on the viewing screen. Let's see. There we go. How about that? Look at that. Boy, and I'll tell you what. We are talking about the Dwayyo tonight. The Dwayyo is a very, very old legend, and I'm going to bring Dennis on. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Dwayyo and its interactions with other cryptid creatures in the Maryland, West Virginia, and possibly even Kentucky and Tennessee Appalachian mountain range. Okay, this is a legend that goes back quite a few hundred years. And I'll tell you how it all started. Okay. So, with that being said, I'm going to bring Dennis on, and we are going to get started. And I'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll let Dennis speak and give his voice a rest for about the first 5 minutes, and then we'll get into the thick of it. Okay, everybody. Let's see here. Let me bring Dennis on. Let me get this picture off of here so you can see us, because I know you really can't wait to see us, right? Good evening, Dennis.
It's midnight. Do you know where your monsters are? We got our monsters right here. The Dwayyo. That's a mean thing.
Yeah, the Dwayyo. Yeah, the Dwayyo is a very, very, very interesting subject. I actually, never even knew of the locality name of what I was searching for here locally until I stumbled upon archives. And you got to love archives. Any place that holds history you want to visit, at least once in your life. So, but I visited the Library of Congress. Yeah, I went right to the Digital Library of Congress, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna check into this a little bit for more thorough than what I have, and I'm glad I did. And that's why I came up with the subject matter for tonight, the Dwayyo. The Dwayyo is described as like a.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of people confuse the Dwayyo with the Snallygaster.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, I'm going to be leading into that and explain a little bit about how come that's connected to the Snallygaster. The whole thing with the Dwayyo, which is a cryptid creature that wasn't really named in the area, uh, except by the indigenous people, the Rappahannock people. The Rappahannock people named this cryptid creature. Okay, and they, because they had seen it through their years and stuff, but not very often. It pretty much kept to itself. Anyways, the Dwayyo, the way it goes is when the Amish started moving out of Pennsylvania and into Maryland and the West Virginia Appalachian mountain range areas, this cryptid creature decided to travel with them, almost like a werewolf entity type of a being, where somebody was cursed in the Amish community that was brought down into this region from Pennsylvania. Now, the Amish feared this creature so much that they put the metal stars, the big stars, wooden and metal stars on their barns to ward off the Dwayyo. Okay. It wasn't the Snallygaster that was warded off. It was specifically meant for the Dwayyo. Okay. Now the Dwayyo is described to be a wolf-like or dog-like, fox-like characteristics. It's described anywhere between 6 foot and 9 foot tall. In fact, the original sighting, the person described it as being 9 feet tall, and they measured it too to make sure that it was that height. And there's since the 1800s, there have been several sightings of this cryptid creature in the Appalachian Mountains, okay, of Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, along the Appalachian Trail. So if you're on the Appalachian Trail, you might want to walk a little softly around that area. Keep your ears and your eyes open about you, you know, because you don't want to get caught up with this thing. This thing does not like people. 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 feet tall maximum. Okay. And it's said to have a long, bushy tail like a fox. Okay. Picture a fox's tail. It's supposed to have slender forearms. Okay. Real slender forearms. Okay. But muscular upper parts of the legs in the front, and its hind legs are said to be extremely muscular. Okay. It has a dog or a fox like face, long, thin snout, pointy ears. Okay. Which, you know, you could confuse this cryptid creature too with the dog man or werewolf if you're not used to what you're seeing. In fact, I would even categorize the Dwayyo as being something of an offshoot of the dog man.
Well, William, some people call the Dwayyo an Amish werewolf.
Right.
They're less werewolf kind of thing. But, you know, what you described just now sounds very much like a dire wolf. When you think about it.
Yeah. 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 Which is what, you know, we talked about previously on the program, dire wolves possibly being, you know, able to walk on two legs. That maybe, you know, that snap, crackle, pop that people are hearing is not just like maybe possibly a portal opening up. Maybe it is their joints in their back legs and in their hips snapping into place to stand straight up. You know,
the Dwayyo,
you know, there's always that theory to contend with.
The Dwayyo is sometimes described as being a shapeshifter. You know, I've read several stories about the Dwayyo where they said they saw. One of them said they were looking at what they thought was a cow out in the pasture. You know, and said the next time they look again, there's the Dwayyo out there. You know, so it sounds very much like a shapeshifter. You hear that a lot too. You know.
Exactly. That's right. And There
So
goes my video. Okay, all right, we're back. All right. Anyways, I lost the video
that
there for a second.
snap crackle pop you talking
Anyways,
about,
yeah,
that snap crackle
as
pop could be
far as the believe that
transformation, you know.
it's definitely got that possibility. It's yeah, it's got that possibility of being a shape
Oh, hey, what's up, you
shifter.
guys?
Wake up, Shane.
Hey, how you doing?
Wake up.
Sorry, I didn't
How's
know
it
I was
going,
on
bud?
screen.
Snallygaster.
Yeah. Oh, you got some heavy duty headphones on there, man. I like this.
Sorry, I thought I was still backstage. It's been a hectic day for me. I've just been nonstop on the go. I apologize.
You got lights on them? Are they lit up? Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I got it for West Coast. You know, my favorite colors are neon green and black. So
well, if the lights go out, we'll know where you're at, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Today I'm wearing orange and black because my Giants are on a 9-game win streak right now and playing against the San Diego Padres. So I was watching the game before I jumped on. Nighthawk sent me the link, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I got to go do an interview." It's bottom of the 9th right now, or I think it's top of the 9th. But yeah, so I was keeping up with the scores and watching the games and stuff. So, but no, I'm honored to be here on the platform with you guys tonight. I know it's midnight your guys' time, so yeah, I'm excited to talk about the Dwayyo.
I hope I can stay in here a while. I got storms all around me. I hope I'll be. If I disappear, you know what? It wasn't a Dwayyo got me, okay?
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Just lost.
Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Hey. Well, yeah, we're talking about the Dwayyo tonight, that's for sure.
Yes, I was listening backstage.
And every time we talk about something like this subject, whether it's search, yeah, it's pretty interesting. The whole connection to the Snallygaster. I don't know if you know, but this is basically this is just some older artwork that somebody drew for a newspaper. And let's see here. Come on.
Well, that's what I said at the beginning of the show. A lot of people confuse the Snallygaster with the Dwayyo, and they're really two different things altogether. You know, they're completely different.
Now, the Snallygaster, from what I've researched in the past, isn't it more reptilian, and it's like the foe to the Dwayyo, right? And it's a flying reptilian, I thought. Is from certain reports I've read. I know doing a little bit of research on the Dwayyo, I've been kind of cross-comparing the Dwayyo with the Shunkaworkin lately, because they say that the Dwayyo has more of the hyena look to it, and that it's anywhere from 6 to 9 feet tall. And the most recent sighting that I came across just yesterday was that there's the reptilian look, or the reptile look to it, the Snallygaster.
Yeah,
but
completely different. And here's another thing that I mentioned the Nighthawk just a minute ago. The Dwayyo sounds like a dire wolf walking on 2 legs.
It could very well possibly be. I've been thinking, doing a little research on it, I think that I came across a report that said the most recent sighting was in 2020 of a Dwayyo. And then I looked at it and I was like, I've seen where they say it looks like a hyena variant. And I started thinking, okay, maybe what if this is a dogman, not a variant, but like an off-breed of a variant off the hyenas, because they say they look hyena-like. But then if you look at the Shunkaworkin, and the last sighting of a Shunkaworkin was in 2013 or in 2014, but very similar descriptions, hyena-like, almost fox-like snout, 6 to 9 feet tall. So, and I mean, you're looking at 2 geographical different points. I mean, the Dwayyo's in Maryland, the Shunkaworkin's normally in Montana and in Wyoming. So if you really cross compare them, they look almost identical, or just the descriptions of them.
They have the same attributes of being bipedal like that. But exactly. The dire wolf, when it was described often, it does have that hyena hunch, I call it, the kind of hump of the back, kind of on the back of the shoulders, like.
Yes.
And the Dwayyo has been described a little bit as having that as well.
Mhm.
I think they share some similarities. It may not be the same thing, but I'm saying they share some similarities. But then we're talking about the wolf, the canine family, whatever. You're going to have similarities,
Exactly.
That is an evil looking picture.
I know.
It is a bad looking dude.
Nighthawk's got some really good cover or thumbnail photos. I've noticed. Like I'll get on YouTube and just start watching a podcast, but his will pop up at the top. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna look good, So wherever you find those, brother, I mean, those are awesome.
Yeah. They have. I think we lost Nighthawk. Are you still there, Nighthawk?
He must be cutting in and out.
Yeah, he's cutting in and out. I told him the other day, it's almost as if something's interfering with his signal or something. It could be possibly something to do with that. I've noticed that a lot on several things that we've done with my own equipment. Sometimes I was trying to do my show the other night, Demonology Today, and I kept cutting in and out, in and out, in and out. It was awful. I never had that happen before.
I know. I was watching that. I caught
I've done 2 podcasts. This one's the second one tonight, and it's worked perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was watching the one you did with Grizzly. I unfortunately I couldn't watch it Sunday night, but I watched it yesterday morning when I was at work. I was just listening. But yeah, like you were saying, you were cutting in and out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's, I mean, it's all theory based. Like I always tell people, who knows? Is it the government?
It was raining hard last night, but it wasn't that hard. I never have had rain interfere with anything like that. That makes sense. I agree with you. It's almost as if the government's playing a little game with us or something. I don't know.
They're monitoring. That's exactly what they're doing. They watch I believe they do contract people. They hire people to watch people's podcasts to see that if they're going to cover certain topics and if they're going too far down the rabbit hole. And that's when they start cutting them. I did an interview, I think 2 weeks ago with a gentleman, and we were just, I was cutting in and out my service. I was like, I'm in my office right now. Right now I have perfect service, but I was cutting in and out every 2 minutes. So.
Do you remember that program they had, Carnivore? You remember that? You hear about that? It would trigger certain phrases would trigger Carnivore.
Yeah, they like picking on me.
Mm-hmm.
They got ways to watch you, definitely.
Oh, of course. Just like the number one best tracking device or cell phones. They're listening. The Apple, the Siri, the Androids. Whenever you say, "Hey Siri," I mean the thing's listening. Or "Hey Google," those things they're listening every single time.
You absolutely have no privacy anymore. You might as well forget about that. Exactly. But I think we have to congratulate you tonight. You're going to have a daughter.
Yes,
is that
thank
right?
you guys. Yes. We just found out tonight at 6 o'clock our time.
I think some little girl is going to be spoiled.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was hoping for a little boy, but I'm more excited. I've always envisioned having a little girl.
You got a pair.
So,
you got a matching pair down there. You.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, I mean, she's going to be a little horseback riding dogman investigator, strapped to my chest when we're growing out. So. I definitely will protect her, and trust me, I'm going to be packing. So, Dogman wants me, they can have me. But you ain't having my baby.
Funny. That's too funny.
All right.
Yeah. So we've got the due date.
I'm going to tell you something between you. I was hoping it was going to be a little girl, definitely, because I know your wife wants a little girl, definitely.
Oh, she did. She's been saying it since day one. And I'm like, well, I just want a healthy baby. I don't care if I have a girl or a boy. I was hoping for a boy, just like I think any dad would want something, I've already got an 11-year-old boy though. So I'm happy with that. I've got a boy and a girl on the way now. So thank you guys.
That's the main thing. Healthy and everything. That's the main thing.
Yep. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
But anyway, get back to our subject on the Dwayyo.
Yeah.
We're getting off track here.
Hey guys, I'm going to cut the camera off and my audio off, and I'll come back in.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The interesting thing about what I was going to say about the Dwayyo, do you think there's any kind of connection or attributes with the Wendigo?
Very well could be. I mean, like I said, like they've been seen, going on bipedally, but I mean, looking more to it, it seems like there is more indigenous or First Nations accounts with these beings than there are actual sightings of them. Like I said, the last sighting I read the other day was in 2020, and that was in Maryland. It was just outside of, I want to say it was Baltimore. I'm not too familiar with the Maryland area, so if Nighthawk wants to correct me on it, or I'm not too familiar with the area, but I had read a report that it was in 2020 a Dwayyo was seen, and it fit the description of the hyena look. It was only bipedally, and then it went on all fours and it ran off. So that's what it really just, I was like, a Dwayyo. I've heard you guys talk about it in the past, but
the one thing I was thinking about, Shane, and Nighthawk mentioned this a few minutes ago, when these people moved to a certain, it followed them, which kind of made me think of the Wendigo a little bit in that aspect, because it was attached sort of to them. To me, that's interesting. The Dwayyo is found not only in West Virginia, and the Appalachian Mountains, but down into Pennsylvania too, and the Dutch and what we were talking about. Some people call this the Amish werewolf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's very interesting how it seemed to follow people.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to another.
The Hexen werewolf.
Yep.
Hexen, the Hexen wolf. Yeah, Hexen wolf. That's very interesting. But here's another thing, and I'm talking about anthropology wise now, as an anthropologist kind of thing. It's strange how cultures can infect other cultures with things. I'm just going to give you an example. Look at Santa Claus. Okay, there was no Santa Claus in this country until the Dutch brought him over. Definitely, that was how that started. So it's interesting how one culture can, influence another, and they can embrace something from another culture. Look how many times this happened with the indigenous people, in the United States, and the European peoples, and it went both ways. The indigenous people could influence the Europeans and so on and so forth. So it's interesting how you have an exchange of culture, things like that, even with monsters.
Yeah, I mean, one perfect example is the Rougarou. I mean, you look down at Louisiana. I mean, the Europeans that came over here, brought their werewolf lore with them, but then all of a sudden they start seeing these things down in the in the Louisiana bayou, and then all of a sudden the name goes from Loup-garou to Rougarou, and then the Creole and the natives of that area take it on, and it formed itself. It's almost like the two cultures merged their sightings and they're just the folklore together, and then that's where we got the Rougarou. I mean, the Loup-garou came from what was it, Ireland or France, I believe, and came over. I know that the French had colonized the Louisiana area, but I mean, even the Creole and stuff that take on, it's just so mind-boggling. Like how you said, it's just they fuse together with the First Nations people and stuff like that, and we get all these different variants or different folklores that intermesh.
And the beliefs in these things seems to bring them or give them more life.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to enhance them in that way, like the Rougarou or the Loup-garou, as it's called in French, which was really a French werewolf that was brought over, so to speak. Their belief in that, the Wolfman. And I think what's called in Italian is the Lupamano Wolfman. So this is all these different cultures. It's very strange, especially in this country, how all these cultures have influenced each other. and they embrace that. It's very, very
We're a big
interesting.
mixing pot in this country, so I think that's what makes our country so great. And like had Ryan had said, the Rougarou is an Anglo-Saxon. He's like it's rough English translation. So right
Yeah,
there, I mean, right now my main interest in this dogman phenomenon or just any type of phenomenon has been focusing on the Cowpay. The Cowpay is the Hawaiian version because I'm half Hawaiian. My grandma told me stories about the Cowpay when I was little. I just laughed it off. It's folklore in Hawaii, but it's very. If you look at the descriptions of a Dwayyo, a chunk of work, and the lore behind the Cowpay is almost kind of similar, more similar to the Skinwalker because to become a Cowpay, you almost have to kill someone to become this. But the story behind it, I'm not to go off the Dwayyo, but I'm just saying, just the description of it is just so similar, and I'm just like, wow, okay, they're Hawaii. I mean,
yeah,
something that's 3,000 miles away. It's just it's seen all across the world, and I mean, I don't believe these people and these indigenous tribes make this stuff up. So I mean, I do believe it's passed on. Maybe some people add a little twist to it. So it's definitely worth investigating and going, not just from our focusing on our country, but worldwide and focusing
yeah.
on other
And
cryptids.
it, and the interesting thing, Shane, when you go back in history far enough to the indigenous peoples, especially in the Northwest,
Mhm.
believed in a race of people that were half human, half wolf. Actually,
Mhm.
you hear about the wolf people,
The
you
wolf
know,
people, yes.
and and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Wolfen, which is a
Mhm.
great movie by the way, great book too by the way. The book's better than the movie.
Oh, of course, it's
They,
always that way.
there are a lot of the indigenous people in Illinois and Chicago and all that that actually, and in New York too, the big cities actually worked on the high steel wires, of the bridges and all that stuff. And they brought that belief with them
Mhm.
about the wolf people, you know.
Mhm.
And that's what the movie was about. It's a great movie. If anybody's not seen that, they need to watch it, look it up, check it out. But anyway, um, that was how I think a lot of the dog man thing really began.
Mhm.
Uh, and here's the interesting thing about it: you have the very same exact legend in Greece.
Yes.
Weird. Is
It
that
is,
strange?
right?
What? That's world away.
It goes all the way back to the Egyptian times with Anubis and these dog-headed creatures and the armies that would fight for him and stuff, all the way to Saint Christopher. So that's the thing I believe is these dog-headed creatures or these wolf-like beings have been here since the dawn of time. Do I believe they're fallen Nephilim? I keep an open mind to the theory. Do I believe they're interdimensional? I do believe there's a paranormal aspect to these creatures. I don't believe everything is a dog man though. Maybe it is, but maybe it's just mistaken identity. And maybe the Dwayyo, when people see it, maybe it's just a dogman. But just if it's in the Maryland area or the West Virginia, Appalachian Mountains,
Well, well,
they probably think
a lot of skeptics are going to tell you that the Dwayyo is really just a parasite. But how can you explain? How can you explain the bushy tail? Where bears don't have.
exactly the bushy tail, exactly. And then there's been some dogmen that have been seen in the surrounding areas that have no tail. So I mean, is it mistaken identity? Or are these people, most encounters only last anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds before the thing either takes off running or the person literally pisses their pants and runs the other way. So most encounters aren't going to be where you're going to get that $1 million photo and say, hey, let me get a photo of you. Most time it's a blur or a
That's what
drive-by.
Ted does there. I think a lot of these things are demons they appear in form they think will work best on you. That's very true, Ted. I think sometimes, not every time, but sometimes some incidents may very well be that.
Mhm.
I just got through doing a podcast with Rob, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and we talked about that. I mentioned that briefly. That the demonic uses images that are especially frightful and negative and evil to do what they want to do, and that would be a perfect usage to use a dog man or a Bigfoot image or whatever like that. So you can't rule that out. But that may be some of it. The Dwayyo would definitely be in with that as well. Uh, that could be some of it, but not all of it. I'm not going to paint it all with a big broad brush and say that's the way it all goes. But there may be incidences of that happening, you know. But sometimes these creatures, as they are described, are very downright demonic, especially with the red glowing eyes and all that.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've read recently on about the Dwayyo is eye color. It's like I say, everything's theory based, but do you believe that eye color has something to do with whether it's demonic or almost like a mood? Do you believe that if they're more sinister, more evil, they're going to have more of the red eyes compared to where some accounts I've heard of them having blue or the amberish colored eyes?
A lot of reports in folklore, you know, go back to the fact of the glowing red eyes. But there are some creatures that have natural red eyeshine. There are a few. I think the raccoon is definitely, I think, one of them. We're talking about glowing, unnaturally glowing kind of red eyes here. You know, that is a definite demonic thing. But that, and I've had a lot of people describe that. You know, so that's what it was. You know, and I was talking tonight about another cryptid. And maybe Nighthawk. We might do a show on this one night, but I call them the night flyers. They are sort of like man bats in a way. I won't get into that. We're not talking about that tonight, but it's very interesting in the fact you get a lot of descriptions on them as having a red glowing eye. You know, so what's going on with the eye? You definitely got something going, you know,
is
coming down.
Man bat, Mothman. I mean, Mothman has been seen with red eyes. So,
yeah,
I mean, the red eyes seem to be definitely something sinister or demonic. I mean, same thing with the hellhounds. A lot of hellhounds are seen with, you know, red eyes. So that right there must, if you're going to tie it all together or put them in a certain category, would show that they're demonic or sinister.
Yeah. But like I say, that might be a factor in it, you know, sometimes, but not every time. I'm not going to say it's a big deal on that, but if you do see something like that, and I've told this a lot of times, Nighthawk said the same thing, you know, do not make eye contact with it. That's not a good idea. If you do actually see something, actually, it's not really a good idea in many instances to make contact with any wild animal or thing that you meet. They can take that as sort of an aggressive thing on your part, especially with a grizzly bear. You know, you don't want to get it. You don't want to be on his good side. You don't want to get on the bad side.
Exactly.
But yeah.
But I think
sometimes,
as human beings, though, we tend to.
Some people say you can intimidate them by doing that, but I don't know if I want to take that chance or not.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. But I think as human beings, we're curious. If we see two red glowing eyes, people are like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're going to go look into it. I mean, survival of the fittest. The ones that realize, hey, maybe we should back out. But the ones that go creeping in, hey, might end up on a David Pilates missing 411. I mean, you never know. But me personally, like when I'm out in the woods, I'm still new to this field. I've only been in it for a year and a half. I saw red glowing eyes. You know, yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to want to go out there and see what it is. Hey, is that a big?
Oh, yeah. I'd have to.
I'm curious. I
agree with you. I would go check it out, definitely. Yeah. But that's me and that's you. Some people. But I can understand that. But, you know, I was just thinking while you were saying that most, I'm not saying all of them, but a good many of the Sasquatch reports always report him as having sort of yellow eyes, you know, an eye shine.
I just got a report yesterday out of south of Portland. I think it was an hour and a half southeast, I believe. I don't remember. I know it was in Oregon, but of a Sasquatch that had some hikers had seen, and they were hiking, and the sun was going down. I'd say around 6 o'clock. Not too long ago. It was this year. I want to say it was in March or April, but it had the yellowish, but they said it had more of a green tint to it, like a yellowish green, almost like lime green. And I was just kind of blown away by that because I've never really heard of Sasquatch really having that. I don't really dive too much into the Sasquatch research, but the eye shine really just kind of threw me off. I was like, I've only heard them ever having blue or red, possibly amber, but the greenish looking eye kind of threw me off.
It's definitely not a human thing. Humans do not have eye shine, you know,
exactly.
In circumstances. You know, you're not dealing with something. If you see something with eye shine, it's not human, definitely.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But I would kind of be very wary if it was very red. I'm talking about the very glowing red kind of things, like the hound, the hellhound, red eyes kind of thing. I would definitely watch out for that, for
Oh, of
sure.
course. Now, have you guys heard of the Dwayyo having different eye shine, or is it always seem to be
I
more of a
think
reddish amber?
I think there's been several reports of red, but it's mostly I think that what I read was the amber or the yellow kind of, or like the kind of the wolf would have,
Hmm.
eye shine.
Yeah, see, that's what I've came across, but I was just curious. That was one of the questions I had. Because, like I said, I'm not too familiar with the Dwayyo. I've been doing a little bit of research on it just to, cross compare it with other
Yeah.
cryptids or folklore.
I think the Dwayyo is very Appalachian
Hmm.
makeup. And here's the interesting attribute we got to remember this too, Chet, that when you talk about the Appalachians, you talk about mountain magic too.
Hmm.
And there may be a certain element of the Dwayyo combined with the mountain magic kind of thing. Here's the interesting one thing I was reading about, okay? Supposedly, a witch cursed this guy, and then every night, I don't know if it's a full moon thing or what, but I forget now exactly, but not every night, but every once in a while at night, he would turn into a Dwayyo. So she kind of cursed him. So that was an interesting link between the Dwayyo and black magic, you know.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, see,
Yeah.
right there, it almost seems there's a paranormal aspect to a lot of this, in the Dogman phenomenon with the Dwayyo. There just seems to be more and more everything lines up with the paranormal aspect to it. Not to say that everything's paranormal, but obviously, if they're
Yeah.
here in this realm and they're eating on a carcass, I believe they are flesh and blood in the presence. But when you see the one print and then it just vanishes, right there to show that there's a paranormal aspect to it.
And that's like that when I was talking about where they were looking out in the field and there was a cow there. And next time they just looked and looked away, looked back, and there was a Dwayyo.
Mhm.
And I said that was interesting. Did they kind of, say did it shape shifted from a cow into what it really was? Was it camouflaging itself? You know, by looking
Wow,
like a different animal. That's an interesting thing to think
that
about too.
yeah, I was gonna say because now in your research, Dennis Nighthawk, when was the last reported sighting of a Dwayyo? Because the one I can find, the most recent one was in 2020. So I mean, we're talking 3 years ago. So is it only an occasional? Is it seasonal, or is it just how does that? I mean, like I said, I'm more on the West Coast, so being a Dwayyo or reading on the Dwayyo is something new to me.
I think one recent, just out of
Well,
my own
personally, I
top of
think
my head, the Appalachian mountain monster hunting guys, the Ames, was
Mhm.
supposed to be on the trail of a Dwayyo. What'd you say about that, Nighthawk?
well, I
You
was
there
going to
now?
say personally, I think that it just follows game wherever game's more prominent. It also follows farming, harvesting
Mhm.
times, um, that type of a thing. Because a lot of the sightings came down into the West Virginia and Virginia area of the Appalachian Mountains because Maryland went from an agricultural type of a growing state to a tobacco growing state. And Dwayos obviously aren't going to eat tobacco, and their game that they hunt aren't going to eat tobacco. So they follow the game.
Mhm.
Well, isn't it
Interesting. Okay,
interesting?
that would make a lot of sense.
An interesting connection with these things and the mountains and cave systems. There's an interesting connection there with that. There's been a lot of paranormal activity around mountains.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, true, very true, very true. And the whole reason between the war between the Dwayyo and the Snallygaster is because of the Dwayyo steals the Snallygaster's eggs.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
interesting.
the Dwayyo has taught the coyotes in the area how to take the Snallygaster's eggs too. So
You got a lot of animosity going on between
the
scriptures.
Dwayyo actually is in leagues working with some of the coyote.
Yeah, that's interesting connection too. The canine family.
That's the reason for the war between the Snallygaster and the Dwayyo.
But see, that's one thing that gets me is the tie between coyotes and these cryptids. Dogmen have been seen several times, being in a herd with the coyotes. Same thing that Nighthawk just mentioned with the Dwayyo, rolling with the coyotes. I mean, it's very Dogman like, it sounds like. So I mean, right there, I'm just going to throw it out there. My personal belief is that Dwayyo is an off variant of a Dogman. I don't know what variant, but more the hyena.
You got the connection, Shane. Very much like the lion and the hyena. The hyenas follow the lions because that's where they get their food. And it might possibly be why the coyotes hang around. They get the cast off food.
Perfect, because they roll in a pack. It seems like. I mean, obviously coyotes do, so it seems like there's one or two Dwayyos in there. Same thing with the Shunkaworkin or a Dogman. I mean, just the description alone gets me. I'm just like, wow, hyena like.
Yeah,
I mean, Ryan saw.
A lot of times in nature, you have animals that depend on other animals, like ravens and wolves hang out together a lot because the ravens scavenge what the wolves eat. So that's smart. That's the way nature's smart that way. And you look, and here's the thing about it. Okay, if you're on the trail of Dogman or the Dwayyo, would definitely look for the coyotes. That would tell you
sure.
something.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like the multiple reports that you hear that Dogmen roll with Bigfoot, is it, maybe it's for survival purposes, or hey, you got two apex predators. I mean, why not? For survival purposes, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And the shark in the ocean has those little sucker fish that get on the shark,
Yeah.
And stay on it. They're like parasites, but they live off the shark and what he doesn't eat. So you got that in nature. Yeah. they take advantage. They know they got a good advantage. So they go in there, so they're going to do it. Kind of like politicians. But anyway.
I like how you went there. You got to slide that one in, Dennis.
A little comparison there. But anyway, there's certain telltale signs.
Who he is.
Yeah. There's certain telltale signs, out in nature. And when I used to go in the field, I don't go in the field as much as I used to. But I would be tracking these things, and it would be Dogman or Sasquatch or whatever I was looking for. You look for things out of the ordinary, but you got to watch nature. Watch for the birds. Watch for the coyotes. You watch for everything like that. They can tell you something sometimes. Things you may not see your own self, but they can give a reaction to these things. And that's just the way nature works. And it's a wonderful thing, the complexity of nature and how it does all this stuff, But here's what I'm getting. My point here. If something comes sort of outside of nature, the natural order, things can be disturbed a lot by that.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, like you said, look at your surroundings. I was in the woods last year with my wife, and she was the one that noticed
stirred up every now and then.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just saying I was out in the woods last year.
Oh gee, look at the time, man.
Uh-oh.
I think he's having some more technical difficulty.
You're
out in the woods. You did what?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was out in the woods last year, and a lot of people, I was like I said, I was just starting out in my research, and like you had mentioned earlier, look at your surroundings. My wife was the one that noticed, hey, there's no birds chirping, and right there, I was like, hey, we were walking on a snow trail, and it was completely snowy around us. It was up in Springville, California, where Matt Squatch had a Sasquatch encounter not too far from where we were hiking. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, that's weird. And everything was dead quiet. I just started taking pictures. And I went back and I reviewed photos. I don't know if it was pareidolia or not, but I got some pretty legit, at least 2 legit photos of what, to me, it looks like a dog man, and one that looks like a, possible Sasquatch. So, but yeah, it
Well, I'm
was
gonna tell you.
definitely, we
Let
looked
me
at our
say something
surroundings.
about that. Here's the interesting thing about that. Okay, I've done
Thank
some
you,
deer
Krista.
hunting one time. When you used to hunt deer, you would look for something straight across. That's their back. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
In the trees, you would look for something straight across. That would tell you there was a deer or whatever the case might be. But look, think about Sasquatch or dog man like that. They're standing straight up in the trees. They can hide very good from you and blend in with the trees. You never even know they were there.
Oh, agreed. I mean, you look at Greg Yost's Dogman photos. It's probably one of the best Dogman photos you'll see. It's on the North American Dogman Project's website, and you see what looks like the ear poking out from the side of a tree. You see its eye. You see its
I
snout.
saw that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd have to send it to Nighthawk if you haven't seen it, or I'll share it in one of the West Coast group or something tomorrow. But it's probably one of the best photos that you can see. And then I think he also took the photo and inverted it to where you see what looks like red eye shine coming off of it. So I mean, there we go back to what we were talking about earlier with the eye shine. Is there something sinister with the dog man? I mean, Greg Yost
Well,
is an incredible researcher too. So
there's been a lot of case histories, and that's what I do. I love to read the case histories,
same
and
here.
you can get so much out of that. But I've seen a lot of case histories where people have actually have had encounters with dogmen, have actually rebuked them religiously, or pray, and they would actually disappear. So that tells you you're dealing with something more of a instead of a natural creature, you're dealing with supernatural. So we got to realize, look at that, just like with what our subject tonight is, the Dwayyo. Are you dealing with a supernatural creature or a natural, although unknown, but natural creature? You got to you got to weigh the attributes of each one to see what the heck it is you're dealing with here, And
Exactly.
these things have so many supernatural attributes to them sometimes. That's freaky too,
The cloaking abilities.
Yeah.
Just seeing a canine stand on 2 legs. I mean, we're talking that's not possible, right? But then we have over hundreds and hundreds of reports of people seeing these things, like William was saying earlier about the bones crunching when they start standing in place, they're locking in place, and then they just start walking off. And that's where people get the most shock, is like, that wolf just stand up. So I mean, there's got to be definitely a paranormal, almost demonic. I wouldn't even almost want to say demonic, maybe spiritual or paranormal aspect to these things.
Supernatural.
There we go.
Best word I can think of. But but what I was saying earlier, there is a natural camouflage. They know how to do that. They can stand in the trees and look like a tree. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They can do that. But there is like the incident I had that I don't know if I ever told you about the sighting I had of Bigfoot. He actually, and I was close enough. I could have, if I'd have wanted to, I could have grabbed him. I could have launched myself at him and grabbed him. I was that close, which would probably not been a good idea. Anyway, he stepped behind this huge oak tree and just was gone, Shane. I mean, there was no way on God's green earth that thing could have got away from me down in the woods. It couldn't have I looked up in the tree. I looked for a tunnel. He was just gone. And, then I learned years later about the Native American belief about some trees being portals.
Yes.
So these things, doorway, and I had to wonder, hey, maybe that's what that's what happened, because there was no way humanly possible that thing could have got away from me out in the woods without me seeing it. And I had night vision goggles on. I could clearly see what was going on. That was freaky, and I had so many reports and case histories of people having the same experiences, not just with Bigfoot, but Dogman, and there is some with the Dwayyo as well. This thing just gone. You know?
They just disappear. And like you stated, something that really stood out is the trees being portals. If anyone on YouTube really goes and checks out Man of Light, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. I think his name's Greg Garaki. I might be butchering his last name, but he's on Facebook. But he's got really good, legit video, and where he's got his trail cam facing on a tree, and it looks like almost a dog man's coming out of it, like it's a portal. He even claims, he's like, "Hey man, this is really weird. It's just I happen to notice this, and it looks like you can see the face of a dog man coming out of this tree."
And here's something for you else to chew on here, Shane. Okay, think about this a minute. Some certain trees are looked upon all over the world religiously as being special things. They worship these trees. They venerate them. And the oak tree is one of them, by the way. The Druids were really big on worshiping oak trees, okay? So you have to wonder, maybe some of these trees have a special ability or a special thing about it that some of these things may know that. You know, that's an interesting thought.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just looking at the name Hollywood. I mean, if you want to jump down a different rabbit hole real quick, just the name Hollywood and all the weird conspiracies about it, and just I didn't dive too much into it, but it's just it's really freaky.
That's where the name Hollywood. The name Hollywood actually the name Hollywood actually comes from the holly tree. They call it a holy tree. That's where you get the word holly tree, holy tree. Yeah.
I'm not trying to get you canceled. I'm just saying that's something I've looked into recently, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. A lot of weirdos down there, you know.
Hey, we got them everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we do. Yeah. I'm only 2 hours away from that capital, so.
Hey, Shane.
Anyway, that's interesting. You know, it's interesting.
I was going to say you're within popcorn throwing distance in a movie theater from Hollywood, so I wouldn't talk about it.
I know. That's what I was saying. I didn't want to try to go too far into it, but I'm just like 2 hours away from them. So I'm like, I'm going to just say, hey, Hollywood's weird. Holly weird.
Hey, Holly weird. That's definitely a good description of it. That's what I was doing the show on the other night, the demonology show on Hollywood, and that's probably why I got blanked out. But anyway, I was going to say that the only thing is not baking cookies are not elves in the trees. Okay, that's definitely not.
Yeah, definitely.
Elves are not making cookies in the trees. Not around here anyway.
Yeah, but to go back to the Dwayyo. I'm sorry, I got a little off topic myself, but just the whole Dwayyo aspect. My personal belief is it is just like there's so many characteristics and similarities to the Dogman. Same with the Shunka Warrican. I know Nighthawk's covered them. I know you've covered them too, Dennis. But those two, for some reason, I compare those two the most in just similarities and how they look characteristically too, with the hyena-like hump that you were talking about, the haunch with the mane. So, I mean, are there more variants out there that maybe the native tribes just haven't really, released out across, the last 1,000 years? I mean, what is it? Is it the Algonquin that talk about the Ulonga Duglala? The spirit with knife teeth, if I'm not too familiar. I mean, I'm not too familiar with it, but I know DA's written about it in his books with is it the Dark Moon series, I believe?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that, Nighthawk?
I've heard of it,
yeah. I don't know if it's the Iroquois or the Algonquin.
Uh-oh. Where did he go?
Uh-oh. He was just on my screen, but then he was saying he had some
where'd he go?
Weather storms going on.
Well, yeah, but so are we, but I don't know. Anyways, Yeah, this has been a crazy night. Trying to talk about certain subjects and stuff with the Dwayyo and the Snallygaster, and it's been crazy. I don't even have him in my back room right now.
Oh wow.
Huh.
Must have just booted him off
Here he
completely.
comes. Here he comes.
Perfect.
Yeah, here he comes. Hold on a sec. Hold on a second. Let me bring him in.
I'm getting old hands.
There you are.
All right, you there, bud?
Yes, sir. We got some stormy weather out there tonight.
Oh,
Probably
man.
that might be what's going on.
This weather's freaky right now that's going on. I mean, the
Yeah.
South, where Texas, they're getting hit with like historic heats. Right now in California, where I'm at, we're dealing with 78 to 80 degree weather. And normally this time of the year, we're hitting 98 to 103. So,
Yeah, weird.
What's weird's going on? We're in some weird times right now. So, I mean, that's why I try to live every day like it's my last and just enjoy it and not try to watch the news because it's all
Maybe we should call this Dwayyo weather.
Dwayyo weather. I agree. Dwayyo Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Dwayyo weather. Hey, we can call Canada's wildfires the Snallygasters.
Yeah. There you go.
That was very odd. I've watched some videos on it, and it just to see how green Canada is. Not to jump off into a different rabbit hole or different subject. It threw me.
I live in South.
Normally California is on fire at this time.
I'm in South
because of how.
I'm in South Carolina, and sometimes we get dust from the Sahara. There you go. you get some weird stuff.
Well, guys, it's been over an hour, and we have pretty much hammered out the Dwayyo. With all the technical problems, I think I'm just going to call it a wrap. And I want to put it out there to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you can, like, heart, and share this. If you can, support the channel because we need new equipment. We definitely need a faster modem and better quality gear. So, anyways, and lighting. And lighting. Oh, wait a minute. Here's my light. Wait, where's my light at? Here's my light. There it is.
Okay,
it's called a flashlight.
Oh yeah. Or portable spotlight. Portable spotlight.
Anyways, but yep. But anyways, we've had our share of struggles here with the weather too on the East Coast, especially where I'm at. We were in like a really serious, almost like a drought condition. Now it's like torrential rains. Literally torrential rains. We can get 1.5 inches of rain in an hour.
Wow.
On top of that,
horrific.
Top of that, we got a potential hurricane brewing down in the Caribbean.
Oh, that's not good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and with the weather patterns not looking like they're improving anymore, it's kind of looking like hell on earth, if you ask me.
It's getting there. Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, Shane, thank you very much, brother, for being here. I appreciate it, bro. Huh?
Good to see you again.
Well, thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Big Dad. We're gonna call you Big Daddy from now on.
Hey, that's totally fine with me.
There you go.
Well, you brothers, thanks again so much for having me. Like I say, it's always an honor to be on you guys' platform, and I need to get you both on. I'm going to be taking a hiatus probably for the next year. I don't know how long, but with the baby coming, I'm just going to try to stay away from cryptids. Might share here and there, but I'm not going to be doing podcasts. But I would love to get you both on either on my Bigfoot or my Sasquatch podcast or my Dogman podcast, because October, November, I'm going to be wrapping everything up and probably just put it on a hiatus for a year or two. I don't know how long, but for a while.
There you go.
Yeah, like I said, I'd love to have you guys. So it'd be an honor to have you. You two are the only ones that are missing. I'm trying to get everyone that I've done podcasts with to get on, share the love, and just talk. Whether it doesn't have to be Dogman, it could be any type of cryptids, but my main two focuses are the West Coast Dogman and the West Coast Sasquatch. So that's what I really jump into. And like I said, you guys are both wealth of knowledge, and you both are such a great asset and commodities to the communities. And then I love you guys both. You guys are both mentors to me, and I learned so much just watching your podcasts every weekend.
I appreciate that, brother. Definitely. And I'm going to be starting my own podcast pretty soon. It's going to be called Hunting the Shadows. And I'll definitely put you on the guest one day. Don't worry. We'll talk about everything except cryptids. How about that?
Hey, I love it. I love it. You know me, brother. I'm mainly a Dogman guy, but hey, I'll talk anything. So
yeah,
I really appreciate that. Well, you guys have a good evening, and thanks again so much. Okay.
Take care, man.
You too. Thanks, brother.
I think we lost last Nighthawk there. I'm still here. Okay, but anyway, we're getting ready to close out there tonight. And I don't know if Nighthawk will be back or not. But I want everybody to like and share. Share and like. Sharing is caring, okay? We want to get some of our subscribers back that we lost in the past, definitely. And some new ones if we can have any. So we want you guys to spread the word around and where we're at and our different podcasts that we have. And I think the next one we've got scheduled coming up is Friday night, Red Rabbit Hole. And of course, it will definitely be one from Saturday and Sunday. Paranormal. There's Mr. Nighthawk. There's Mr. Nighthawk. There you go.
That was very interesting. Dennis, you still here?
I hear you. Yes, sir. You hear me? But anyway, I was just thanking everybody for tuning in and listening tonight.
I was just checking, but that's very. Yeah, they always do, and that's really starting to tick me off. And I think it's more than just technical issues, if you know what I mean.
It's too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about information, and cryptids in the area where there's these underground military bases and stuff, these dumb facilities, and they're all over the place now. In fact, I was talking with a certain cryptid hunter earlier today, and they informed me that they're doing one fairly close to where, but between you and I, locations, and that they're taking in some special forces for security. So there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of activity along the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh yeah,
a lot of activity.
It's like I said earlier. It seems to be those mountains. Those mountains are a draw for paranormal, supernatural activity.
Exactly. Well, on that note, I'm looking forward to Friday night's show. It's going to be on artificial intelligence with Marquise Williams and myself and Dennis and Carlito. It's going to be a very, very good program. We're going to cover everything AI, everything from the demonic aspect of it to the taking over, mankind and killing off mankind aspect of it, the good aspects of AI, which is like the medical improvements and stuff. surgical operations and stuff like that. Saving lives, that's always a good thing. So it's going to be a very, very good, thorough conversation on AI.
Here's something to think about on that subject.
And that's
When you, it's not just artificial intelligence, but when you start combining it with bio aspects of it, biological aspects, you're talking about some very, very freaky stuff coming down the line. Definitely.
Yep. Yeah. Robotics and bio and AI, and it's all together. And next thing we're going to be dealing with liquefied terminators. So, but anyways, that's for another show Friday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So, don't miss it. It's going to be a good one. So, and then of course we got Saturday and Sunday mornings, the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show, where Dennis and I and Gerald cut up and talk and drink over, coffee after coffee and discuss everything supernatural, paranormal, you name it. Sometimes we even get off the rails way, way far with that show. So it just depends on subject matter. So, but if everybody can put the word out, we definitely do need help. You can donate to the Nighthawk platforms via the Buy Me a Coffee format at W Nighthawk 333. You can even donate to my GoFundMe, and that I'll put that towards something. If you say this is for such and such, I'll put it towards that. So but right now we're struggling with that big breakdown that we had on the interstate. The only vehicle we've got for medical transport to and from the hospital for myself and my wife and my kids. So we are struggling with that right now, trying to get that fixed. It's going to cost me another alternator and a starter at the bare minimum. Probably the positive wire or cable going from the battery to the starter. That because I think that got fried. Apparently, what happened, from what I can gather and from what the mechanic has told me, he said that, and I'm talking the mechanic that was the tow truck driver. He said that the amps in the alternator spiked for some reason and burned out the starter. So at the same time the alternator went, it spiked so much that it burned out the starter. So that's why I've got to replace both of them. So if anybody can help, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I'll put some of the information up. I mean, some of the information is on the bottom of the screen, but there's so much going on right now that it's enough to make your head spin. It really is.
It's always something.
But there's the GoFundMe on the bottom of the screen. Yeah, and there's the bonfire store. We've also got Linktree now. It's all at the bottom of the screen there. But it's just, it's one thing after another. It really is. And, the devil's been working overtime on me. He always tries I actually had a vision last night when I was sleeping that I was battling a demon, and the demon tried to take control of me and lifted me up off of my feet to where I was elevated off the ground, like levitating off the ground. And I miraculously, in my spiritual strength, fought back enough to where my feet were going back down towards the floor, and I stabled myself. And right when I stabled myself is when I woke up. And I mean, I came from a dead rest, peaceful, rest to waking up like real abrupt. So these evil forces are real, folks. They will assault you in your dreams. They will fight you tooth and nail every aspect of your life. and we need to prepare for it. And it's only going to get worse before it gets worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse before it gets worse.
We need to prepare ourselves
everybody said
spiritually.
that, you know, yeah, we do. And I think there is something to this whole demonic connection. Like I know Ted said here earlier tonight, I think there is something to the demonic connection and the cryptids, or at least the shape-shifting entities that are beings that are in our world and have been in our world and have tried to control us from the shadows for so long. I believe that those might possibly be the demons, and that they're making all these other, you know, these other creatures, you know, just like back in biblical times with the Egyptians. You know, look at all the different cryptids the Egyptians had drawn on their walls: gator heads, bird heads, dog heads, you know, all kinds of stuff. So, you know,
I think a lot of this, I think a lot of it, William, is definitely rooted in the Nephilim thing from the beginning of this world. A lot of the stuff is screwed up by the dark forces, shadow forces of the demons, and they are in every aspect of it, and that includes the cryptids and everything else. They're into everything. That's just the way they operate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting to be something. This Friday, I'm hoping we can really crack open the nutshell on the whole AI thing and find out just what kind of possibilities it could have to the Antichrist and to all this other stuff. To me, I think that's just a fascinating concept, thinking that maybe AI could have something to do with that. So, or at least bringing the individual forth. So,
I've
you know, a lot of people, you know, have a lot of different theories on it, but
answer Mr. Bay, yes, I have read a lot of the books of Enoch and different books that were left out of the Bible. There's some very interesting stuff in a lot of it. Definitely, it definitely needs to be researched because it has a lot to do with our time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Falafel Bay, Juno, Ted, everybody, Ozzy Sue, thank you, Wendy, everybody that's been in the chat tonight has been great and gracious and kind. Midwest, thank you. D Rock, Katie. Let's see who else we have with Pyromedic. I can't forget Pyro. He come on with that whole. He had just passed a Snallygaster for his first comment. I almost muted him. Maggie, good to see you on here. Let's see. Like I said, Wendy, Margie. Okay, Freaky Geek, Crystal J. Just everybody, thank you so much. Ozzy Sue, so many. Unbelievable. Doesn't anybody sleep around here? Pyromedic. I mean, I don't think anybody sleeps in. Yeah. No. Well, maybe I should make the format of this whole podcast channel like midnight to 6 a.m. or something.
I'm a rider. I'm used to staying up at night. Okay, the way you get it. I burn a lot of midnight oil in my day.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Ethiopian.
I forgot to show you. I don't know if you can't. I don't think you can see this, Dennis. This medallion I've got here. I can't take it off, and the chain is too tight. But this medallion I've got here is something that I think you'd notice.
Oh yeah, that's the seal of Solomon. Eh?
Yeah, it's the seven. It's the seven seals of the archangels.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, that's the seven signals of the seven archangels. I got that one myself. It's in that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very powerful
So,
amulet, by the way. To have their names,
yep.
7 names.
Yep. Yep.
Actually, according
Exactly.
to legend, Solomon had that on his ring.
Anyways.
Solomon had that star on his ring, and that's what kept the demons at bay.
Mhm. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Well, we'll see what it does tonight because I just got it. I got it for Father's Day, so. But yeah, it's something that I just the way things have been going lately, being under attack so much that it's every protection chance I get, I'm going to do it.
Well, here's the one. Here's one thing you can get out of that, William. And I've said this before: when they attack you that hard, you must be doing something right. So that's a good thing,
Yeah, well, they definitely are attacking me rough. That's for sure. But you know what? I'm still here. So
There you go.
as the shirt says, never quit.
Never quit. No retreat. No surrender. That's our motto. No retreat. No surrender.
Yep. Well, brother, I'm going to call it a night, and I will see you. I'll talk to you in the morning. Okay.
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 Take
Have
care.
a good one. Everybody have a great night. Have a great night. We'll see everybody on Friday night. Friday night at 10 o'clock, everybody. I want you all there. We'll see you all later. Have a great night.